Hey guys, it's Jess. I'm in my hotel room. Outline is done, ready to give this iPhone lecture a shot. I am going to be kind of stopping and starting so that the lecture is in segments. Hopefully this works and you get something out of it. I just really don't want to miss a day. So here goes. This week we're talking about preparation and goal setting, goal mapping. This is my favorite aspect of performance mentality and sports psychology training in general. I think it's oftentimes overlooked, seems basic, but it can really truly kind of make or break an athlete, a team, a career. So the big question is, we're going to start with the preparation side. Is there such a thing as innate talent? And this is the big question that Malcolm Gladwell asks in his book, Outliers. And the section you read of the 10,000 hour rule, this is sort of the kind of heart of the chapter. And the kind of well-known idea about innate talent and achievement is that achievement equals talent plus preparation. But as he discovers and as he's studied, he decides that the problem with that view is that the closer psychologists look sort of at the careers of the gifted, across all sectors, but definitely in sports, the smaller the role innate talent begins to play, and the bigger the role preparation seems to play. And so one of my favorite examples is he gives of professional pianists, and he talks about the fact that by the age of 23, professional pianists were practicing purposely and single-mindedly playing their instruments to get better. Like that was their purpose, well over 30 hours a week. And by the age of 20, these elite performers had already totaled 10,000 hours of practice. Now, for me, when I kind of look at that and that concept, I think a lot about what we read about last week in terms of a growth in fixed mindset. There's no way, in my mind, this is my interpretation clearly, that someone can stick with something for 10,000 hours, whether it's practice or performance, etc., and have a fixed mindset. There's no way that someone with a fixed mindset can keep going after pitfalls or frustration or injury for 10,000 hours. And so for me, a growth mindset, again, is sort of the foundation of becoming an outlier or becoming successful or becoming a master, quote unquote, at anything. And I really love kind of the aspect in the chapter or the quote in the chapter that kind of basically just blatantly says, practice isn't what you do once you're good. Practice is what you do that makes you good. And in essence, for me, a growth mindset is that buy-in to the fact that practice and progress and basically putting in your time and dedication to a commitment is really what it's all about. And that's what a growth mindset is. It's like just continuing to go and go and go no matter what. So when I take kind of that idea of, if I'm going to go do 10,000 hours of anything in order to prepare, I'm going to have this growth mindset. And then I look at all of you and the sports that you're in and all of the other things you have going on in your lives besides athletics. And to put it realistically, you don't have time not to have a growth mindset. There's no time to get to these 10,000 hours or to get to the peak of possible preparation with your schedules and your lives and how they've gone. There's absolutely no time to focus on failure. There's no time to focus on frustration. there's just no time. You don't have it. So you really have to buy into the fact that you are essentially against the clock. If you want to be your ultimate best and be as close to your peak and optimal performance levels, like, you have to put in the time. Therefore, that time that you put in absolutely has to be focused, efficient. You got to be working towards something. It's not really good enough just to go out and hope that your athleticism and talent is going to take you to where you need to be. And I think that athletes at the college level, especially in the Division III world, whether you're playing a club sport or a varsity sport, you don't have time when you're practicing, playing, etc., not to have goals, not to be focused on something that's going to make you productive. And neither do your teams. Teams that are often successful have a process for goal setting and have a process for progress, deep practice, deliberate practice, all of those things kind of that we read about this week. And in essence, to have that growth mindset and to have that focus on progress and to know that there's not tons of time for you to be ineffective and inefficient and focused on an idealist outcome that may not exist and that's out of your control. The growth mindset and goal setting really sort of just helps you focus on the right things. I love the quote in Mind Gym about Bjorn Borg and how he said, I remember I used to take the train to Stockholm every day after school to play. Then he'd come home late, he'd study, he'd get up to go to school, and then he'd get on the train again, just all of those years. And he talked about how it got him results. But now looking back, even if he didn't become a champion, he'd still know that he gave it his best shot. He'd still know that he tried. He got on the train and tried. I love that story because his time was focused, it was effective, it was a lot of hours of training, he was doing everything that he could do, and yes, he got to his outcome, he got to the championship of many tennis championships. But the fact of the matter is that progress, is that buying into the process, is that being focused, like, that is success. It wouldn't have been a failure for him if he didn't necessarily achieve the outcome. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the lecture. So, in essence, preparation, absolutely, definitely, wholeheartedly, you have to have a growth mindset to prepare well. And in order to prepare well, you have to be focused, you have to be going towards something, you have to be willing to be realistic, you have to evaluate yourself. And that's where sort of the right type of goal setting, and then we'll walk through the goal mapping, really just makes you better. So, exciting!